The film opens with Gianni, a strikingly handsome and charming businessman, jogging through a picturesque park, his toned body glistening under the morning sun. Although he appears to be the epitome of success, a closer look reveals a man ensnared in a life of deception and superficiality. Gianni is notorious for his womanizing ways, crafting elaborate fake identities to seduce younger women, often with little regard for their feelings. Later that day at the country club, laughter fills the air as his friend Fabio humorously exposes Gianni's antics, recounting how he's managed to juggle 3 different identities within just 1 week. The other patrons chuckle, but the undertones of concern for Gianni's choices linger. With a mischievous grin, Gianni quips and says that maybe his wife is next on his list. This causes the laughter to fade slightly, revealing the hollowness of his charm. At a lavish restaurant, Gianni met his best friend Dario, who was also his doctor. As they shared a meal, Dario leaned in, his expression serious, and questioned Gianni about the exhausting pursuit of love, asking if he ever tired of the charade. He urged Gianni to consider settling down with someone who could offer genuine companionship, reminding him that turning 50 was a significant milestone. Just as Gianni opened his mouth to respond, his phone buzzed with the news of his mother's death. Dario's hopeful expression crumbled as Gianni delivered the news casually, devoid of emotional weight. Gianni shrugged and made his way to the funeral, showing little regard for the gravity of the moment. Arriving late, Gianni inadvertently joins a Filipino funeral procession, mistaking it for his mother's service. He offers a hasty and insincere apology to the grieving family, the awkwardness palpable. Finally, locating his mother's grave, he listens as his twin brother delivers a heartfelt eulogy, words that resonate deeply with the mourners. In contrast, Gianni opts to skip his own speech, casually gesturing as he refers to the Filipino workers with offensive undertones. His prejudices rear their ugly head, adding an uncomfortable layer to the somber occasion. After the funeral, Gianni's brother hands him the keys to their mother's house, a gesture heavy with unspoken emotions. Alone in the house, he riffling through family photos evokes fleeting memories. Sitting in his mother's wheelchair, he turns on an old radio, the nostalgic tunes pulling him into a moment of carefree dancing, a stark contrast to the reality of his life. Suddenly, the tranquility is interrupted by Alessia, the enchanting new neighbor who enters unannounced. Startled, Gianni stumbles over his words, trying to maintain his composure. Alessia, youthful and full of life, offers to help, sharing her experiences working in a nursing home. Mistaking Gianni's seated position for a true disability, she innocently offers her assistance, sparking an idea in Gianni's mind. He sees this as a chance to charm her by pretending to be disabled, donning a mask of vulnerability that he hopes will win her affection. The following day at his company, High Speed, Gianni's ruthless business persona is on full display. During a tense meeting, he berates his team for their lack of creativity, emphasizing that they are not merely selling sneakers, but a lifestyle. When Giulia, the new interns, suggests targeting Paralympic athletes in their marketing campaign, Gianni scoffs at the idea, declaring that his clients are influencers, not disabled individuals. In a dramatic move, he fires Giulia, leaving the room in stunned silence. After the meeting, Gianni returns to his late mother's home, still maintaining the facade of disability. He manipulates Alessia into joining him for coffee, playing the part of the helpless man. During their coffee chat, Gianni learns more about Alessia's carefree spirit and her aversion to serious relationships. As they talk, he realizes that his ruse is backfiring. Alessia is drawn to adventurous, confident men, attributes he's trying to fake. Just as she is about to leave, Gianni reveals his true identity as the owner of High Speed, boasting about his wealth and success. Alessia's demeanor shifts as she expresses genuine interest and invites him to her family's country house for lunch next Sunday. On Sunday, Gianni arrives at Alessia's family home, nervous yet excited. The ominous clouds loom overhead as he struggles to wheel himself to the entrance. Inside, he is greeted by Alessia's family, including her grandmother, who requires oxygen. His heart skips a beat when Alessia's sister, Chiara, arrives in a wheelchair. The realization hits Gianni hard. Alessia has set him up with Chiara instead of herself. After a pleasant but awkward lunch, Gianni and Chiara step outside to chat. She shares her passion for sports and her career as a professional violinist. Though Gianni tries to appear interested, his mind races as he contemplates the deceptive web he's woven.
Fai sport?
No.
Come no?
No.
Ma lo sport è importante.
Returning to Rome, Gianni enthusiastically recounts his encounter with Chiara to his friends. Dario inquires about her personality, while others press him about her looks. Gianni admits she's beautiful but hastily adds that he's not into disabled women. Fabio, ever the instigator, bets Gianni he can't seduce Chiara. With a confident smirk, Gianni accepts, viewing it as another game to conquer. Meanwhile, Alessia visits Gianni's mother's home to return his raincoat. She encounters Gianni's brother, who is oblivious to Gianni's charade. They discuss Gianni's supposed charitable work in Botswana, leaving his brother puzzled but bemused. Later, Gianni's brother confronts him about the deception, advising him to stop the lies. But Gianni deflects with humor, mocking his brother's baldness. Gianni leaves a voicemail for Chiara, asking her out for Saturday. To his surprise, Chiara visits him at the office earlier that same day. Realizing he has no wheelchair, he awkwardly perches on his desk. Chiara informs him she can't make it Saturday, but invites him to her tennis tournament for disabled athletes. Eager to impress her, Gianni fabricates tales of his company supporting disabled athletes. At Chiara's tournament, Gianni watches in awe as she skillfully plays, her determination igniting admiration in him. Afterward, she invites him to lunch with her friends, but the atmosphere shifts. Gianni feels bombarded by questions about his disability, leaving him anxious and overwhelmed. That night he tosses and turns, plagued by nightmares that reflect his inner turmoil. Determined to make things right, Gianni travels to Turin for Chiara's violin performance. He buys an electric wheelchair, hoping it will help him maintain his ruse. As he watches Chiara perform, he's genuinely moved by her talent. After the concert, when she asks why he's in Turin, he lies about being in the area for work, wanting to see her. They dine at an upscale restaurant where the tension is palpable. Gianni struggles with his urge to confess, but instead admits he came just to see her, a small step towards honesty. Their dinner is filled with laughter, but Gianni's clumsiness with the electric wheelchair leads to a series of embarrassing moments, causing him to feel vulnerable yet hopeful. After returning from Turin, Gianni seeks advice from Dario, awkwardly asking if paraplegics can still experience intimacy. Dario explains, it varies by injury, but urges Gianni to mature and embrace his age. Dismissing the advice, Gianni invites Chiara to dinner, clinging to the hope that he can keep up the charade a little longer. At dinner, Chiara inquires about Gianni's paralysis. He fabricates a tale about a fall, which Chiara finds amusing. To lighten the mood, Gianni and Chiara enjoyed a simple dinner until water suddenly fell into the dining room, causing them to float in a dreamlike embrace. Amid the surreal setting, passion takes over, creating a connection that defies their limitations. They start to share a kiss and soon become intimate in the water. When the water vanishes, Chiara confesses she felt nothing below her legs, and Gianni, perplexed, admits he only sensed it on his forehead. After she falls asleep, he captures the moment in a selfie, ready to collect on a bet the next day. The next day, Gianni shows his friends the photo, winning the bet with Fabio. Yet he hides the fact that Chiara cannot feel anything. That night, while Fabio's wife visits, she accidentally breaks a wine glass and jokes about being clumsy like a handicapped person. Offended, Gianni reacts harshly, asking her to leave without revealing his reasons.
Guarda che te lo ricompro.
Vestiti.
Days go by without any communication between him and Chiara. Slowly, Gianni begins to reflect on his life choices and starts noticing changes in his outlook. He asks Luciana to recall Giulia, the intern he fired, hoping to implement her idea of expanding the marketing strategy to include paraplegic athletes.
Quella dell'8 per 1000, lì, quella nuova.
On a morning run, Gianni calls Chiara, wanting to set up a meeting to confess his lies. He arrives at her home, and while she practices the violin, he sees old photos of her when she could walk. Overcome with guilt, he prepares to confess but sits down to avoid revealing his secret. Chiara notices he seems less jittery and comments on how he's improving with his wheelchair. They share nervous laughter as she recounts her ex-boyfriend's hurtful comments post-accident. Feeling vulnerable, Chiara shares that lies and deception hurt her more than her physical injuries. Gianni, realizing the weight of her words, becomes scared and decides to keep his secret for now. Chiara then asks to meet his friends, and Gianni reluctantly agrees, forcing Dario and Luciana to join them for dinner. On the way to dinner, Dario suggests Gianni might be falling in love and urges him to confess, warning that if he doesn't, either Dario or Luciana will. At dinner, Dario pushes Gianni to reveal the truth. Just when Gianni is about to speak, he spills soup on himself and asks Dario to come to the bathroom for a private talk. In the bathroom, Dario insists that the lie has gone too far and that Gianni must come clean. However, their conversation is interrupted when a restaurant employee enters. To maintain his charade, Gianni pretends to be paralyzed, pushing his truth further into the shadows. Meanwhile, Gianni's brother visits Alessia, revealing the truth about Gianni's deception. Furious, Alessia confronts Gianni and slaps him, giving him a 2-day ultimatum to confess everything to Chiara. Feeling the pressure mounting, Gianni visits his estranged father, who expresses regret over his own failures as a husband and father. He urges Gianni not to repeat his mistakes and to be honest with Chiara. Inspired but scared, Gianni concocts a plan to take Chiara to Lourdes, hoping to fake a miracle by pretending the holy water has healed his fake disability. The stakes grow higher as he grapples with the truth. When they arrive at the sanctuary, they meet Father Walter, who instantly sees through Gianni's facade. Without waiting for an explanation, he warns Gianni not to stand up in front of everyone, cautioning that it could give others false hope. As Gianni struggles to maintain his deception, Chiara unknowingly walks into the street, oblivious to an approaching truck. In a moment of instinct, Gianni stands up to pull her back from danger. Though shaken, Chiara plays along, pretending to believe it's a miracle. However, as she leaves on a bus, tears stream down her face. Back in Rome, the repercussions of Gianni's lies come crashing down. Fabio confronts him about his affair,
Ma gli altri che fine hanno fatto? Oh!
and Luciana resigns, disillusioned by Gianni's actions. In a moment of vulnerability, Gianni visits his mother's grave, for the first time expressing genuine love and regret for the lies he's told. Desperate for redemption, he reaches out to Giulia, re-employing her to develop an ad campaign that features disabled athletes, a step towards genuine integrity. Seeking to mend things with Chiara, Gianni storms to her family's home, pouring his heart out to her grandmother. He explains how Chiara hasn't returned his calls, but the grandmother cuts him off, asserting that Chiara is too smart to fall for men like him. Gianni admits that while he appears physically fit, he feels mentally like a wreck. In an emotional outburst, he professes his love for Chiara, accidentally breaking a vase in the process.
Io la voglio prendere, la voglio portare via, la voglio stringere fra le braccia, la voglio far ballare tutta la notte, perché io, una così, non ce l'ho mai avuta. Cazzo!
The grandmother reveals that Chiara is taking a bus to a theater in Spoleto. Fueled by determination, Gianni races against time to catch her. When he finally reaches her, Chiara initially rebuffs his advances, asserting that she doesn't need anyone's pity. However, Gianni, fueled by desperation and sincerity, continues to plead his case. In the concluding moments of the film, Gianni runs through the streets of Rome, burdened by guilt yet propelled by love, collapsing from exhaustion. He is shocked to find Chiara waiting for him, a playful smile on her lips. She mimics his earlier excuse of just passing by.
Niente, passavo di qui e ho digitato percorsi runner Roma.
And in that moment, both of them choose to forget the past. They embrace, and she gives him a ride in her lap, symbolizing acceptance and love. In the final scene, Gianni celebrates his 50th birthday surrounded by family and friends, including Chiara, who has become an integral part of his life. The atmosphere is filled with joy and laughter as they share stories and laughter. As the credits roll, Gianni lifts Chiara in his arms, the embodiment of love, acceptance, and the redemption that comes from embracing one's truth. To stand still is to hear the whispers of the heart. Only then does the path reveal itself.